Oh howdy all, grab yourself a drink, it is time for some PathOfExile discussion. Today I wanted to point out one of the weirdest things that's been going on in patch 3.23 and the Affliction League, and to give you a heads up on why it's the case. You are looking at the price chart for the Squire. The Squire alternates between being the 4th and 5th most valuable of the Drop Anywhere uniques, with Headhunter and Mageblood always at the top 2, then Calandra's Touch in position 3, and then it's Soul Taker or the Squire that fight it out for position 4. And in a mature trade league, it usually trades in the vicinity of 20 Divine Orbs or more. This is a genuinely great item that empowers a number of really solid strategies, and that is an extremely rare item. In fact, its drop rate is the same as that of Headhunter and Mageblood, and the divination card for it is not particularly farmable, although it definitely does exist across a trade league. You may notice that the price on this item is somewhat lower than it normally would be. This is the genuine price. You definitely can pick up a copy of the Squire at the time that I'm making this video for less than 600 Chaos Orbs. Now let's have a look at something else. We're looking now at the price chart of the Tainted Oil. The Tainted Oil is also legitimately in a similar price range. It's actually 20 or 30 Chaos Orbs more expensive than a Squire is at the moment. And if I'd made this video 2 days ago, then that difference would have been 200, with Tainted Oil being almost double the value of the Squire on that day. Tainted Oils are an extremely niche consumable. You can only get them by running Blighted maps, and the Blighted maps have to be corrupted. They're not a common drop, but they're also not staggeringly rare in those Tainted Blighted maps, and most people only use 1 or 2 in an entire league. Fundamentally, these are a powerful but quite niche consumable. It's not been unheard of in previous leagues for Tainted Oils to end up in the 30 to 40 Chaos range, and to stay there the entire league. So, why is Tainted Oil something like 12 times its normal price? And why is the Squire something like a 12th of its normal price? It's because the Affliction League mechanic, when min-maxed, is dropping so many additional unique items that a whole lot of unique items that previously have been extremely exciting drops when they've fallen for you are instead pretty mundane drops, like Unnatural Instinct, which can be had for the sum of 70 Chaos this league. When I had a lucky Unnatural Instinct drop on day 3 last league, I was able to trade it almost 1-for-1 for a Mirror Shard, and whilst Unnatural Instinct doesn't go up as much as Mirror Shards do, it is something that's almost never been below 1,000 Chaos Orbs late in a league before. Fundamentally, what we're seeing here is that everything that can drop as a result of Magic Find Abyss farming is cratering in value. That actually includes a lot of currency. The very rarest currencies are a little bit of an exception here, such as Mirror of Calandra and Hinekura's Lock, but for pretty much everything else, like the Divine Orb, their buying power is way down when you compare them to unusual things that aren't usually thought of as currency. Anything like Tainted Oils and Maven's Writs that cannot be dropped at all through the gameplay of Abyss Magic Find farming is something that has been going up in price against all of the things that can drop as a result of that gameplay. And that's why we're seeing things like Tainted Oils starting to really rise in price. Most notably though is the Fracturing Orb. Fracturing Orb's got a new Divination card this league. The Divination card I See Brothers, although it's very rare, it does drop in a very popular map, in Strand Map. And yet even then, that hasn't stopped Fracturing Orbs being far more expensive than they've been in the game's history. The only time that Fracturing has ever been more expensive than it is now was during the Sentinel League and during the closing days of that league. In that league though, Fracturing Orbs didn't exist, there was no secure way to trade a Fracture Craft with another player, so the pool of people that you were able to buy them from was basically players that you considered to have a good reputation, either through your own game experience with them, or through the use of external scammer blacklists like the Forbidden Trove Trade Discord. Additionally, Fracture Crafts at that point were tied only to a single one of the 3 rare Harvest bosses, and they were just much rarer than they are now. I See Brothers is a very rare drop, and I'm actually going to be organising a collaborative effort starting in the next few days to try and pin down just how rare this drop rate is. But can already pretty confidently say that it is rarer than 1 per 200 maps. But that's still more common than the Divination card for Soul Ripper, and that Divination card was enough to bring this flask down from being many dozens of Exalted Orbs, which would be equivalent to many dozens of Divines now, to being only single-figure Exalts or single-figure Divines now in the first league after this Divination card was added. And while this flask has had a couple of changes over time, it's still pretty much just as desirable as ever. The I See Brothers Divination card has not been enough to arrest the increase in price of the Fracturing Orb. This is because the league mechanic is not just disgorging a whole bunch of extra unique items into the trade league economy, but it's also disgorging a whole bunch of extra base currency, including Divine Orbs. So Divine Orbs actually have less buying power when it comes to genuinely rare items like Fracturing Orbs, and this is dominating the effect of the new I See Brothers card. Anyways, what this all comes down to is that if you are finding it fun to play the game by using some of the degenerate Abyss farming strategies, then go ahead and do that because it is the most lucrative way to play the game at the moment. But if, like me, you're finding that gameplay extremely boring and something you're just not interested in doing at all, then what you can do if you want to make some currency this league is find some of these things that you cannot get through the Abyss Magic find strategies and start target farming them. Whether that be running blighted maps for Tainted Oils, and the cat seems to be out of the bag a little bit on this, the Tainted Oils have been going down the last couple of days, whether it be farming Fracturing Orbs either from the IC Brothers card or alternately just from outright killing Harbingers, or anything else along those sorts of lines. Those are some of the best ways that you can deal with a broken league economy. And one thing that is a big plus about having a league economy that is broken in the sense of unique items being basically worthless is that even very rare items like Relikesh's Impatience can be had for a song. So you can pick up Relikesh's Impatience, Badge of the Brotherhood, and also 2 Void Batteries to get yourself started, and that entire kit is going to cost you 150 Chaos Orbs, or, in other terms, 1/3 of 1 Tainted Oil. So if you farm a Tainted Oil, you can definitely get yourself a character going pretty effectively that way, and that's something I'd recommend considering if you're not enjoying the Abyss strategies. That's all I got for now. May your Val Orbs have interesting results.